Um, Thank you for the warm welcome earlier. I'm here to talk about leadership, and it's always interesting to speak on the subject because almost everyone has an opinion on leadership. Almost everyone has a take on leadership, from politics to business, from the military to the church. Leadership is one of the most talked about, one of the most studied, and perhaps most debated concept in business, in management, or maybe even the world. But before I begin, let me make something clear. I'm not standing here as an expert, not as a guru, but as a student of leadership. Because leadership for me is not a destination, but a continuing journey of learning, unlearning, and yes, also undoing. And my journey begins with the story of one man, Ernesto Fernandez Reyes. And I'm sure you've guessed, yes, he was my father. And he was a pioneering surgeon. He was a Southeast Asian Games gold medalist in shooting. He was a self-made man. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about him just so that I could paint a better picture of how he was. He was the son of a local police chief. Uh, he was a Boy Scout when he was younger. He was an ROTC officer in college, eventually a major reservist for the Armed Forces Medical Corps. He trained at the National Orthopedic Center and was one of the specialists, disaster response specialists for the Department of Health. But more importantly to me, he was my first leader. And it's also important with what I'm trying to share with all of you today. And as a leader, and as a father of his generation, like many fathers of his generation, he led with control. And he decided what we did and how we did it. And when you look at me, what we ate and how we ate it. Growing up as a child, I still remember three things vividly. So first, the way he would point at something or maybe utter a word and I was already expected to know exactly what to do. Just like a nurse assisting him in the operating room. The way he would whistle. No, the second one, the way he would whistle. Something like that, no, but it's louder. So whenever at home or in public, when he whistles, I've always found myself running to report for duty, just like a cadet training to become an officer. And lastly, the third one that I remember, the way he already had my life drawn out, just like one of his full training plans when he was preparing for a major competition. So growing up in that environment with my father taught me that leadership meant command and control. I am the director. I am the orchestrator. I am the captain of the ship. And I'm using all these words. No, I'm not inventing this. And for a long time, I actually believed that. I subscribed to that. And after a couple of decades, it was now my turn to be a father. And I still distinctly remember my first bring your dad to school day. And it was the first time that I ever felt that I wanted more from my career. I wanted my son to introduce me to his friends and classmates that I was a leader from my organization. So from that point, I tried my best to tick all the boxes, put myself in the best position for a promotion. And fortunately, after a few years, several movements, I had the opportunity to lead my very own team. And naturally, I applied the only form of leadership that I knew, command and control. And it worked. People followed, targets were hit, and things really looked good on paper. But over time, something changed. In certain situations, people stopped functioning. In certain moments, my team started dysfunctioning, if there's such a word. And the more I tried to control, the more disconnected we became. And as I grew older and my team grew more diverse, I found it harder to lead through control. Because when people change, leadership must change too. And today, people are diverse, not just in age, not just in role or background, but they are diverse in terms of their worldview. They are diverse in terms of how they expect to be led. And a multi-generational team does not respond to one leadership language anymore. As I navigate management ranks and work with different leaders at various levels, I realized one thing. Leadership is not command and conquer or command and control. It's not the be all of leadership. It's really just one language. And it's not the only one worth speaking. And one realization that I have is that as a leader, it's important for me to connect with individuals. It's not about commanding others. It's about connecting with them. It's not about control, but it's really about trust. And that realization led to my undoing. No, that began to undo what I thought I knew about leadership. And so I would like to share with you the three lessons that I've learned in my journey of letting go. So the first lesson is model, not meddle. Years ago, I joined a multinational organization as one of its country leaders. And my boss at that time, he was the general manager. He was known to be a very detail-oriented individual. But when I actually felt his leadership, he's really just a micromanager. And in my first stint as a leader of a particular department or group, in my first meeting, he showed up unannounced. And before I could even speak, he already took over the meeting. He ran it himself because he felt that I wasn't doing things the way he expected me to do it. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, this is what control feels like on the other side of things. And it became what I would call a mirror moment for me. So I was able to reflect because in a way, when I started my journey in leadership, I was also the same leader. And what I learned is that sometimes when it's not our way, it doesn't mean that it's the wrong way. It could just be another way. And again, going back, when you look into this room, and maybe this is the right opportunity to do that exercise. So maybe if you could help me look at your right, if you could look at your right, to that person at your right, mukha ba siyang command? May mga tumatawa, maybe? Try to look at your left. Mukha ba siyang control? Diba? And now we deal so much with a generational audience. And you may find that maybe one person who grew up in a generation of control may be sitting beside someone who grew up questioning everything about that style. Bottom line, my realization is that connection with your team or the person that you are leading is not about inspection. You try to build trust by example, no, not by inspecting them all the time. Great leaders, they don't meddle, they model. They show the way, and then they let their people find their own. Now, the second lesson is learn and share. I've met a lot of leaders that treated information as currency. And then they try to hoard information for themselves. They believe that the more information that they have, the more control they have over people. But trying to examine that, and I've met a lot of great leaders, they do the opposite. They share information. They take the time to teach. They take the time to put context in everything. They take the time to tell individuals the why for everyone. And because they share, people flourish, people transform. So the second lesson is learn and share. So first, don't peddle, model. Second, as a model, you learn as much as you can and you share with the people that you lead. The third lesson would be delegate to empower. Do not delegate to dump. One of my experiences as well, and maybe my pet peeve, is seeing leaders, even young leaders, try to dump as much to their team. They delegate tasks because that's something they felt that are already beneath them. No, they don't want to do it. They just want to pat people on the back and say, good job. But it was really their task. They delegate tasks as a source of freedom. No, they feel that it would give them more time to socialize, rub elbows, etc. There's nothing wrong with delegation. And if you use delegation correctly, it could be a great tool for empowerment. It's something that can foster ownership among your people. It's something that can bring accountability to your subordinates. And overall, when you delegate effectively, you develop a new school of leaders, a new group of leaders in your organization. So that's the third. Delegate to empower, do not delegate to dump. And when I first got the call to be part of this event, I thought I would be the next Simon Sinek. So I was really researching all over, browsing through YouTube, scouring through the internet, trying to get some ideas on how I would attack this presentation. And in the process, I had an epiphany of some sorts. Being a leader is something like being in front of you. In a way, it's about me, but really, it's not about me. Because it's not about how loud my voice is, but maybe how I was able to help you find your own set of voices. So I come back to where my journey began. The story of my father. He taught me discipline. He taught me excellence. He taught me drive. And he led with fierce control because that's what leadership meant for him at that time. And I bring those lessons with me together with the freedom that I can rewrite whatever things that doesn't serve me anymore. And my hope is that my son, when I teach my son, I hope he gets the courage to not just do things, but also to undo things. Because the true measure of leadership, at least for me, is not how tightly we hold on, but how courageously we can let go. Thank you.